Stumps on day 4 of the World Test Championship Final 2023. India lost both batters that they had at tea time. How they wish they would have had at least one of them still batting. Though Virat Kohli and Rahane have ensured that the run scoring still continues. They're going at over 4 and over. And they have, you could say, a mountain to climb. 280. It's still very much Australia's test match. But India aren't out of it. So it makes for a fascinating review show at the end of the day on ESPNcricinfo Match Day, powered by Adidas. Sanjay Manjrekar in studio. Let's go to Brad Haddin. Make sure he's up and about at 3 a.m. in Sydney, where he'd still feel comfortable, I guess, Brad, even though that's a high-scoring session and India going at 4 and over with those 3 wickets down. Australia would be very happy with the day's work.
Yeah, Australia would be happy. India, I think, will be a little bit disappointing. They got 3 batters at the top of the order that all got starts. When chasing a total like this, and probably a total that you only win 1 out of 10 times, you want your big players getting big hundreds. So they'll be disappointed that they got 3 batters that got out with starts. But Virat Kohli and Rahane, once again, are looking good. But Australia will be comfortable with where they're at.
Yeah, it's well set up by Brad, because it looked like Rohit Sharma was finding the game easy. And both those wickets, Sanjay, Pujara and Rohit, seemed like it was against the run of play, not the sort of relentless bowling we saw from Australia in the first innings or from Scott Boland. So let's go one by one. Let's start with Rohit Sharma and Nitin Lyon.
Rohit Sharma didn't put a foot wrong. I mean, his innings was, flawless. And again, it's very interesting how T20 cricket and Test cricket sometimes has absolutely no connection. Struggled in that very long IPL season and before that as well. Come Test cricket hasn't put a foot wrong before that happened. And that is something that happens when a spinner comes on and you play 3 quality seamers out, and just something happens where you don't actually drop your guard, but you suddenly feel, maybe there's a chance here to get some runs, and the T20 white ball shot came out of the psyche of Rohit Sharma, because the ball was just round the wicket, straight, nothing special there. It was just Rohit Sharma, maybe a lapse of concentration in a way, trying to get some runs, maybe a bit too eager. But once he went down on the knees, and much to his chagrin, the ball was a little shorter than he would have liked. If it was a bit fuller, maybe bat on ball, and that shot would have been executed. So I have to call that a lapse of concentration. In a way, he just got a little maybe greedy to pick up a few quick runs.
Brad, your thoughts on that wicket? Nitin Lyon's a dangerous spinner to try and sweep in Australia. The sort of bounce that we've seen, was the shot on?
Oh, well, he's played it a number of times and you feel comfortable, but it just brought, that's exactly what Nathan Lyon wanted Rohit Sharma to do. He went around the wicket for that exact reason, to bring LBW into the game. I just think it's probably one that Rohit Sharma didn't need to play. He looked in total control. Nathan Lyon wasn't doing a lot off the wicket, but that was one way he was trying to get Rohit Sharma out. So 1-0 there to Nathan Lyon.
Do you sense that Rohit Sharma, there would be a frustration among some fans, because like you say, he looks so comfortable. He's seen out the tough phase. And often we've seen, Sanjay, that this happens, where that lapse in concentration comes and he's out 43, 100 or an 80 not out, Rohit Sharma, and this is a different game. Does he just lack the concentration over sustained periods, even though he has had the odd good test innings, even in England?
It's very difficult to actually put it in a very simple way. With some batters, you can say that there is a genuine problem of lapse of concentration. These are guys who will get to 40, 50, 60 and get out. Now, this is a guy who's got 200s in his first 2 innings of his test career. So he knows how to get the big scores. And even in that series against England, the 4 test matches, he had 100 and an 80, but he looked $1 million right through the series. So this is not so much Rohit Sharma losing concentration, but I guess there is some difference in a Rohit Sharma playing in that fashion versus somebody like, say, a Virat Kohli in his prime, who is never going to give you a chance. Once he is in, he is in. He's top of his game, 400s against Australia in 2014, or what was that? 2014.
Yeah.
So that is what Virat Kohli does. And you're sort of, talking about another exceptional player who looks set to get a big 100. So that's why Pujara and Rohit Sharma, 2 key batters who have the appetite to bat for time. That was a huge setback against the run of play, as you said.
Right. Brad, do you think even as an opposition, while Rohit Sharma looks so good, you get that feeling that, oh, he's moments away, or it could happen at any point where he drops his guard, and there is a vulnerability to that. Sometimes when Pujara bats long or Kohli bats long, you feel, we'll have to work hard for this wicket. But do you get that impression oppositions also sense that Rohit Sharma's wicket could come?
I get it looks to me that someone like Rohit Sharma, he's got a lot of options. When you get the team in a situation like he did there with Australia, probably that was a low option that he had needed to take there. If he played more in his percentages, keep the pressure on, and make his wicket a really hard one to get. I think that's what we're trying to say here. He was someone who looked in total control, probably didn't need to play that shot. It was a low percentage shot for someone who had the game exactly where he wanted it. So I don't think they're shocked with the way this dismissal came about, but I just think it's, if you can build enough pressure, he's got that shot in him.
All right, let's talk low percentage shots with Cheteshwar Pujara's wicket now. And if he's out caught trying to play the ram shot of Pat Cummins, it'd be good luck sitting next to Cheteshwar Pujara. But Brad Haddin, take me through that wicket.
Yeah, it's Pujara-like. The one thing I have noticed, he is looking to score a lot faster than he has previously. Where he's had a lot of success against Australia, he's just been like the Rock. He's just batted at one end. He's put a very, very high price on his wicket. Then Australia have had to try to work at the other end. So to me, it's just looked like he's just trying to overplay his hand rather than just make his wicket a really high price, which he has done in the past.
Sanjay.
Exceptionally good observation that today as well, when you saw him start off his inning, there was a back foot punch that he played very early in the innings. Now, when you see Pujara play one of his favorite shots, which is rocking back and hitting that ball to extra cover, he's generally batting on 55 or 60. That is the first time he plays that shot. So off late, it's true he got one of his fastest hundreds of his career recently in Bangladesh. Maybe he's realized at this stage of his career he can't be the blocker who keeps blocking, because maybe he feels there could be a ball that has his name on it. Few years back, he trusted his defense more because when you see Pujara in a test innings and he hasn't got off the mark for 30, 40 balls, those are danger signs for the opposition. Invariably, he'll get you a big one, and it's quite right. I mean, that shot was, again, Pujara making sure that he's not blocking everything and just wanting to get that scoreboard ticking for his own good. He didn't want to be 10 not out after 100 balls. He just wanted to get a little more. Not the right kind of pitch to play the ram shot, where a short ball tends to sort of go in a curve to the keeper, and when he played it, it almost got the inside edge of the bat. So these are shots best played when the ball is flying off the deck.
It's always hard to be too critical in a one-off test, but Cheteshwar Pujara is an experienced test batter. He spent a lot of time with Sussex. He's put on truckloads of runs there. Returns of 14 and 27 in a final. Not to mention both ways and he's been dismissed. That's very un-Pujara-like. As this has been a disappointing test for a player of Pujara's stature, isn't it?
Yeah, I find that unexpected, and that's why I'll never be critical if something that is unexpected, because Pujara is somebody over the years, and not just 10, 15 test matches, over a number of years has gone out there and, grinding away for India, taking body blows and played in one fashion. Now, if at all this is a plan to be a little more proactive, a little more attacking, that also comes from a very good place where he wants to contribute and get the best out of himself at this stage of his career. So, yeah, it happens. So, Pujara, 2 low scores, unexpected, a man in form, very dependable player, but I'm not going to be too critical because this is Pujara finding a way to survive and get runs.
Brad, just one quick comment before we wrap it up. I mean, this is a man who has made Australia work so hard for his wicket. Single-handedly almost responsible for the runs that they got in their first series win there. And in both innings, it seemed like he's contributed more to his own wicket.
Yeah, you're right about it. He's looking to be proactive, and maybe that's something to do with the surface. We've seen a number of balls take the top and be a bit inconsistent with the bounce, and maybe thought if he just sat there and survived, that's when the opportunity for Australia to pounce on him and a ball would have had his name on it. So it was a little bit odd the way he got out with that shot. Maybe normally you get under it and put a bit higher price on his wicket. But I think the surface played a role in the way his mindset changed towards his game.
All right, fair enough. 4th wicket for Pat Cummins in this Test match, and thankfully he kept his foot behind the line. That's 10 no balls for Pat Cummins, Brad. Can you explain it?
Yeah, the only way I can explain it is he's had 3 months, or nearly 2 to 3 months out of the game. He hasn't done much. He's given his body a good break and gave an opportunity to get some strength into it. He just looks a bit out of rhythm. He hasn't bowled. He didn't play IPL, and with the overstriding, and that can just be a feel thing for bowlers who haven't played. So I'm just putting it down to just some lack of rhythm and lack of match practice there from Paddy Cummins.
I mean, this is right up there in those stats books, because even if you are out of practice, like Brad Haddin says, 10 no balls, 2 have cost him a wicket.
Yep.
Australia still well ahead, but 10 no balls is something freakish.
Absolutely. And I mean, when you get a wicket, and of the kind that he got, for a batter who went on to get almost 189, you got to feel really bad about yourself. But yeah.
All right, fair enough. Well, he'd rather take the situation Australia are at, and we'll see if this trend continues as a big Ashes comes Australia's way after this. But that's for a little later. For now, let's talk about what happened after those 2 wickets, because Virat Kohli and Ajinkya Rahane have still kept the slightest of Indian hopes alive. It's still plenty of runs. Let's talk about Virat Kohli. He looked very good for his 44 not out of 60. He is our Adidas impossible performance. Of course, there's nothing impossible about Virat getting 44 of 60, but it's a nice start, free-flowing start to a player that obviously now has a lot of hopes on him individually. Sanjay, played well.
Yes, and I liked the mood that he was carrying after the dismissal in the first innings. On the field, he was vibrant as always. There was a lot of smiling, light-hearted conversations with Shubman Gill. Maybe it's something that he's trying to build in himself, because he's gone on record to say that on occasions he's been too intense, and that failure in the first innings is an important one for him. This is the ultimate test, and this is the ultimate Indian test batter. I like the mood, and what I saw in the second innings is typical Virat Kohli. You'll never see him come looking down on confidence or giving less than 100%. Still going with the same approach, trying to get onto the front foot. Fortunately for him, there was a Mitchell Starc who still bowled a lot of full deliveries that were just perfect for him to drive. There was one from Scott Boland on the leg side. So trusting his 2 or 3 shots that he's got currently. But yeah, a mentally tough champion batter that he's always been, has got a start, and he'll be hoping to cash in tomorrow.
Yeah, Brad, just thoughts on the Kohli innings and how Australia did bowl to him. Starc bowled a very good ball to him to get him in the first innings. And once again, we've seen the blow hot, blow cold, more cold Mitchell Starc going at over 6 and over.
Yeah, I'm glad Stumps came when it did with Virat Kohli on 40. That means that Australia get another opportunity tomorrow for him to start his innings. We know how much he loves playing against us. He's got a great record of scoring some big hundreds. So Mitchell Starc was obviously a tactic. He got him in the first innings. He's had some success. I'm not too worried about the runs he's going for, because he's looking to get wickets. Virat Kohli looked like he was sharp and he was ready for the contest this second innings. So Stumps came at a perfect time. So he's got to sit down and he's got to start his innings again tomorrow, which gives Australia an opportunity to get him early.
I wonder, Brad, from an Australian point of view, how many times you've perhaps had the feeling, Mitch Starc, one of the great bowlers of his time, 300 plus test wickets, and yet you feel like, we know Starc could be expensive. But there are times when it just looks like Starc's not tuned in.
Yeah, it's interesting. The one thing about that, you say there, it feels like Mitchell Starc's not tuned in. Then all of a sudden he gets a wicket, he exposes the tail, and he ends the day with 4 wickets. So what he is he's a real strike force for the Australian team. He's a wicket taker. At times he's going to be expensive, but he's one guy, if he does get a wicket, he can get 2 wickets in an over. Things start to happen fast. So he did come up against 2 pretty good batters out there today that they're looking to score. But yeah, Mitchell Starc at times can be expensive, but he's a genuine wicket taker that can take multiple wickets and over. So I'm not too fussed about what's happened to Mitchell Starc today.
So you're happy to accept that package?
I mean, with due respect, this is a fantastic bowler that we're talking about. I can understand him going full and quick in the air because that has been his great weapon. But when the ball is swinging and the ball hasn't swung at all for Mitchell Starc and for most others, guys who have bowled full have got nothing. The best bowler from Australia has been one who's just kept it simple on shot of good length. The couple of balls that he bowled on a length, short of length in the first innings to Virat Kohli, really short ball, they got him a wicket. But somehow he's almost sort of compelled to try two very full deliveries. And for somebody like a Virat Kohli, who's already onto the front foot, he's like in a position to drive, to get a ball right under his bat. It didn't make any sense to me. So I just wonder whether the captain could on occasions tell somebody like a Steve Smith that on this kind of a surface, when there's no reverse swing, a guy who's already onto the front foot with a short of length ball that worked in the first innings, and a couple of balls actually just took off beautifully from a length, could be the ball. He's bowled, I think, 7 overs for 45 runs. I would have liked to see Cameron Green bowl more because he would have exploited that length better. And somebody who's like a Virat Kohli, who wants to get forward, Cameron Green is the guy.
Make it awkward.
Short of length, a bit of bounce. And Nathan Lyon, 9 overs of off spin, round the wicket. The final one that he bowled to Ajinkya Rahane over the wicket, 3 times he troubled Ajinkya Rahane. So maybe one trick missed there as well.
Yes, Brad.
Yeah, I think you make a really good point with Mitchell Starc's length when the ball's not swinging. Yes, his strength's to get the ball nice and full, but when it's not swinging, he needs to pull his length back a little more, maybe use his short ball to a lot better effect. But yeah, you just need to pull that length back a little bit and get the ball going waist height through to the keeper.
All right. Well, it does seem like we have still picked up some critical aspects of Australia's game and credited how Virat Kohli and before that Rohit Sharma batted. In spite of that, Australia so far in front, a lead of 280. It almost feels like India have competed so much better in the second innings of this game, last 2 days or so. But they fell so far behind that the contest is still not on. There'll be some regret right now looking at how the surface is playing and how the test has evolved, Sanjay.
Yeah, and especially watching Australia's tactics in the second innings, you would think if India would have done a little better with the ball after electing to bowl first, things would have been different because this is a team. Now you watch Virat Kohli and Ajinkya Rahane tomorrow. Ajinkya Rahane, again, impressive. I mean, he's become dogmatic. Sure. He's just sort of one thought player now. He used to be skittish, large part of his early career before he was dropped, but now very calm and very committed to one way of playing, a bit like Pujara, but with more shots, I guess. And Virat Kohli will be Virat Kohli. So this is the thing to like about India. They'll keep fighting back, but they just conceded too much of an advantage in the first couple of days to Australia. Because when I see Australia now, and when partnerships are happening and the kind of bowling changes and tactics that I see there with Pat Cummins in charge, India would be feeling, oh, we could have made this easier for ourselves.
It's not all over yet, and perhaps we'll go into more detail about the regrets that India would have for falling so far behind in the first innings. But let's get a final thought from Brad and Sanjay about day 5. Surface is still playing well enough, Brad, and this Duke's ball is now 40 overs old. Assuming we get similar conditions tomorrow, do you sense something is still on here, still brewing? Australia don't quite have one hand on it, or do they still have one hand on it at least?
Well, on the surface, if you're sitting back, you think Australia's in a great position. But I'm sitting here now thinking we're playing India. Virat Kohli's still at the crease. We know how much he's been a thorn in our side for some time. We know how competitive he is, and he loves scoring runs against Australia. I'm still thinking a little bit about Brisbane. When I know there's no Pant there, but Virat Kohli and Rahane are still there. So I'll never write this Indian team off because over recent times they've done some extraordinary things against Australia. We're happy with where we're at, but it's still game on tomorrow.
Yeah, what an interesting feeling this is, because in his short test career, imagine if Rishabh Pant was in this 11 and we had this show today, we'd have a completely different thought and feel about getting 280 on the final day with that guy in. It's such a, I mean, it's a shame, but it's testament to how much he's achieved in a short span of time.
Yeah, just that it's 444. So even if Rishabh Pant was there, we would still say, Australia, the favourites to win. But the Rishabh Pant factor would have harped on that. That guy is incredible. He's been sensational. He's how many, 4 or 5 years old in Test cricket. And I've counted 3 all-time great Test innings that he's already played. 3. And people like Ajinkya Rahane and so many others would go through 80, 90, 100 Test matches and wouldn't be able to actually boast of one all-time great test innings. He's had 3 from an Indian batter. So that's the kind of impact that he makes. And
we have said, I mean, this isn't just wisdom in hindsight, but we did say over the first 2 days also that India could have had some selections that would have perhaps given Australia that feeling, if not a like-for-like. Kishan hasn't even played a test. No, it's coming to both of you. But can you imagine tomorrow with the lower order and having both Kishan and Ashwin? Bharat's done a good enough job. He's kept well. Batting still seems a question mark. But imagine how Australia might approach this if they had Kishan and Ashwin. Do you sense again lower order runs might
just the volume of runs this time is a lot more. 444 is a lot. Brisbane was around 300 and what?
90 odd, I think it was,
lesser, maybe 370, whatever. And the pitch
is not as good.
Once you said defensive fields and all that, it's a very slow pitch. Very difficult, but we saw a graphic just a little while earlier where 300-400 plus scores were chased down, and that's all happened post 2000. So who knows?
I mean, recent Test cricket has essentially given us these dramatic results, Brad, as a result of lower order runs, crucial lower order runs coming. But it's fair to say that this partnership, and maybe Ravindra Jadeja, who of course has shown great batting skills here, is the key. After that, Australia feel very comfortable.
Yeah, I think the key to India's batting here is to get through the first hour. If India can get through the first hour unscathed, all of a sudden you can start to create a little bit more doubt in the Australians' tactics and what they're trying to do. But it's important for them to get through this first hour, put some pressure back on the Australian bowlers, because at the moment, with 280 still on the board, 3 wickets down, that they are in the box seat, but things can change really quick. If you get a partnership here of 100, 150, all of a sudden that lower order, who's been very, very successful for India for some time now, if they're only chasing 150 or 100 with 4 wickets in hand, they'll back themselves to get that. So it's important for India to start well and try to put some pressure back on Australia.
Raunak, you're absolutely right. I get the point that you're trying to make. A miracle would have been more possible with Rishabh Pant around. You're quite right. So that is the scenario that we have. If India wins, it's a miracle. But if Rishabh Pant was around,
that was
it would have seemed more likely.
Absolutely. Well, it's going to take some serious records to topple. It's far from the highest chase at the Oval and all sorts of other records. It's far from India's highest chase as well. So it's unlikely. So I think it's fair on day 4 to get a prediction out of Sanjay Manjrekar and Brad Haddin. We'll speak at lunchtime next. Sanjay, how do you expect things playing out on day 5? Australia to win and win comfortably? Or could it be one of those 50-60 runs which still keep us interested and then Australia are champions? Or are you entertaining the miracle?
With Rishabh Pant not being there, and I'm seeing the battles to come with KS Bharat as the keeper and the kind of pitch that we have. Tactically, I've been a little disappointed, with due respect to Brad there as well and Australia. Tactically, Australia have not been brilliant, and that might just give India some, leeway to get close to a possibility of a miracle.
But you think they'll fall short?
Yeah, logic tells me that,
All right, let's get Brad Haddin's final day prediction. I think we can leave the draw out of it now, because if Australia don't get 7 wickets, the scoring rates we've seen, we should have a result either way. And let's hope there's no bad weather. Brad?
Yeah, I think Australia are in the box seat. I think it was important to go to Stumps tonight. I think, as we said, Kohli was just starting to find some rhythm in the game, so it's important that we get him to start again tomorrow and capitalise early in the first hour. I think Australia, if they can get a couple of wickets, things will happen fast this time with the tail. But it's all on Kohli and Rahane to regard action and see if they can get some nervous men in that Australian change room. But Australia in the box seat.
All right, we leave it exactly there. 329 was the target at Brisbane. Just been informed. 29.
Yeah, much lesser than 4.
Yeah, 4 is a lot. All right, this is where we leave it. Brad Haddin's already ready for bed. You normally wear that office blue shirt, don't you, Brad?
Yeah, always to bed. I'm ready to go. So it's been a pleasure again, boys.
So thank you so much again, Brad, for doing this for us.
Cheers, Brad. Good fun. And one more day with us on ESPNcricinfo Match Day, powered by Adidas. Big thank you to Sanjay Manjrekar as well. We have a 5th day finish that we can't wait for. It's been a great test match. Make no mistake about it. Even though Australia have dominated it, they still need to get the job done on day 5. We will look back at it as the action unfolds. So join us at lunchtime on day 5 of the World Test Championship Final on ESPNcricinfo Match Day, powered by Adidas. Good night.
जिस पे नाम सिर्फ एक का हो
लेकिन हो पूरे देश के नाम।
उस चीज को हाउ डू आई डिस्क्राइब इट इस जर्सी के लिए मेरे फीलिंग समझाना इम्पॉसिबल है
पर इसे पहन के
I feel just one thing, impossible
इज नथिंग